Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hey, and welcome back to Joe on Joe. I'm your host, Joe Slepsky, and with me this week is a regular co-host of mine, but it's someone you've never met, dear listeners, and I wonder what that could possibly mean. What that means is I have been, for the last couple months, a guest host on a show called the Geekish Cast. And with me today is the host and the creator and the owner and the all-around slave driver of the Geekish Cast, Mr. Jeremy Vilmur. Jeremy, welcome to Joe on Joe.
Well, thank you, Joe. Thanks for having me on. And I'm also the chief cook and bottle washer, but you're more than a guest host. You have become a co-host of the show, a valued co-host of the show, Geekish Cast.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, and Geekish Cast, as you've described it, is the heavyweight champion of geek talk on the internet.
Yes, because I kind of think sometimes we bit off a little more than we can chew, but we do cover pretty much anything that's geeky, from comic books to movies to cartoon series, and sometimes even delve into pro wrestling.
Oh yeah, we do, and we can't go any further. We also host it with Paul Vieira, who I would love to get on a future episode of Joe on Joe. He is currently serving in the military himself, so he'd be a perfect guest for it.
Yeah, he is actually our real life G.I. Joe.
Yeah. How long have you been doing Geekish Cast? For about a year and a half now, right?
About a year and a half, yeah. It actually started right after we saw The Force Awakens. My wife got sick of listening to me talk about it, and she said, "Why don't you go tell the internet about that?" And that's how Geekish Cast got started.
And what were some of the hurdles that you found in kind of just starting something like this? Had you done radio before? Had you done podcasting before?
Okay, so
what's your journey there?
When I lived in the Monterey Bay, and my background is HVAC and plumbing sales. I lived in the Monterey Bay. A customer of mine wanted to do some radio commercials. So I called the radio station, made an appointment for us to come by. We walked in. Somebody heard my voice and said, and I don't know if you can tell this listening to me, but I have a pretty good speaking voice.
Yeah, you totally do.
Yeah. So they said, "Hey, we'll give your guy X number of free commercials if you read these 5 commercials for us," because they needed a new voice.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, sure. So that just kind of sat in the back of my head. And then over time, I just kind of went, as I began to listen to podcasts, I could probably take a swing at this. Now, as far as hurdles, I had no technical background. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. Yeah. I didn't understand the difference between a USB mic and an XLR mic and a compressor and, all the different things you have to know how to do it. So I learned quite a bit really quickly.
And what resources did you utilize to pick up on that?
I did a lot of searching on Google. There's a lot of good information out there, a lot of trial and error. And that's, pretty much. Oh, and there's also a group on Facebook called the Podcasters Hangout.
Yes.
That I go to quite a bit, even if I just lurk. I check it out. And also, there's a show called Return to Camp Blood. The original creator and host left, but it's a Friday the 13th podcast. I got to be pretty friendly with a couple of those guys. And whenever I got stuck, he could go, "Oh, hey, go look at this article, go check this out," or talk me through it.
That's great. I think I found that's what's awesome about the podcast community is that it is a community, because it's everyone vying for ears, but all of us realizing that we're going to have to rely on each other to kind of help the industry and the profession and just the model grow,
Well, and the thing is, if you sound good and I sound good, we all sound better.
Yes.
If everybody sounds like they're recording on their onboard mic in their mom's bathroom, then it makes us all sound better. It all sounds hokey.
It's totally, absolutely right.
Yeah, so everybody seems to be everybody I've run into has been really supportive.
Yeah. Have you ever gone to Pod Fest or any of the podcast festivals?
I have not. I just found out about what was the big one in Anaheim that's going on,
yes, there is one. Yes, it's going on now, or when this show airs, I think it just would have went.
Yeah. I think I may try to do that next year.
There's also LA Podfest, which that goes in August.
In August I'll be in Vancouver, but I'm definitely going to try to do some kind of actual face-to-face thing in this next year.
Yeah, I've been to LA Podfest 1 year, because usually it actually always coincides with something else on my schedule. I'm trying to remember what it is now, but it always makes it hard for me to get out there. But I did go 1 year, and it was great. because you get to meet a lot of podcasters of some of your favorite shows, like they had Welcome to Night Vale there and things like that. And being in LA, you get a lot of like local, quote, celebrities doing podcasts. So you get to meet them, and you get to see their rigs, and you get to talk to them. And then they always have like representatives from Libsyn and everything. So you have technical questions like, I need to get 3 people, 3 mics recorded in this situation, and I don't know how to do it. Help me out, Yeah. So if anyone's listening out there and just looking to start a pod or something like that, those resources are readily available. And that's kind of what I wanted to cover with you on this, just because Geekish is a great show. It's so much fun, and you do a lot of work, and you actually do it live, right?
Well, I do. So every week I have 2 shows. So there's regular Geekish Cast, which is me interviewing somebody, runs about 45 minutes. And then we have the show that me and Paul do, which is Geekish Cast Live, and that's live the first 3 Thursdays of the month.
Right.
And that actually came about because I joined the Astro Panda Network, which I think I dropped your name with them too. So you may want to check and see if you ever got an email from them. But they got me a deal with Blog Talk Radio, which has a virtual studio where you can do a live show with multiple call-in guests and that sort of thing.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's always fun. Well, before we go any further, you can find Geekish Cast at, shockingly enough, geekishcast.com. You can also check them out on Facebook. It's Facebook/GeekishCast. And on Twitter, you're the Geekish Cast. How much are you on Twitter a lot? Do you engage with your fans a lot on that? Or is that more just because Twitter's one of those things you have to do if you're doing a pod?
I engage with people quite a bit. One of the problems I run into with Twitter is that during the hours most of my listeners or cohorts or whatever are active, I'm in my car doing my job, and I really can't be as communicative as I would like.
Yeah.
Once I get a voice to Twitter feature on my phone or my car, I'll be set.
Are you pretty much a one-man band?
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, same here. Yeah. It's and that can be a lot too, to keep track of all the various Twitters and like all your modalities. Yep. So just for all you young podcasters out there, get a partner.
Maybe an intern. Maybe get somebody for Cramerica.
You know what? That's how I started. That's how I started in podcasting. I started interning with the Storyworthy podcast. Big shout out to them. Yeah, my friend Christine Blackburn, and at the time Hannes Finney was on there. Also my friend. They needed an intern, and I showed up, and that's when I had been listening to podcasts for quite some time, but that's how I got into recording it.
How long, Joe, real quick, before you carry that out and don't lose your train of thought, how long have you been podcasting?
Well, so if you include working as an intern, going on 4 years, or at least 4 years, because it'll be going on 5 next year. It was right when we moved out to California. And then I worked as an intern with them and just helped them and learned and kind of saw the setup and we have an engineer, Jorge Mario Reyes, who is amazing. And if you're out in California and you need a hookup for audio, let me know, because Jorge is the best. And so we did live shows. I helped him produce that. And then from that, I worked on a show with a woman named Nikki Levy, who does a wonderful storytelling show called Don't Tell My Mother. And that's a live storytelling show. And I helped her turn that into a podcast. And we did that for a couple of years. And then I worked with my wife's, and this was all me producing. And I worked. My wife had one for a little while called More Than a Mouthful, and then I got out of the game. It took me out of the game for about like 10 months. I wasn't working on any podcast, and I'd still never done my own where I was actually a voice talent. So that's when I said, you know what, I want to do one, and that led into Joe on Joe, and so now we're a year and a half strong.
Oh, that's pretty cool. It's kind of addictive, isn't it? And as soon as you get one idea for a podcast, you're like, oh, and I could do this.
Yeah.
I could do that.
Yeah. And then when you hear from fans and you make new friends, and like that all led me to meeting you and Paul, and like you just meet. It's a great inroads, to meet cool people. And I've had guests on our show that write to me. And so, hey, if you're out there listening, send me an email to joeandjoepod@gmail.com, or reach out to me on Twitter and Facebook @joeandjoepod. And let me know if you want to be a guest on the show, because Jeremy, that's one of the most fulfilling things that I do, and I don't hear this a lot on a lot of podcasts. Is my co-hosts, whenever I can get them, are my fans. So I've had 4.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so I have four or five of them, and we do the same setup you and I got going on here. But I've never met them before, and they come on, and what brings us together is our love for this G.I. Joe cartoon, and this communal experience that we shared, even though we didn't know each other. And then when we're done with the episode, I got a new friend, and it's great. And so it's awesome. And that's what I love about podcasts, because whatever it is, it's usually something very specific that brings people a communal shared interest that brings people together, So, yeah, so I love it. I love it. I love doing it. And my next move is I need to figure out a way to extend Joe on Joe, because we're running out of episodes. And the cartoon will end in October. So
but there was more than one G.I. Joe cartoon.
There
correct?
was. I've talked about this before, where the next the season that follows this, technically the third season of this episode, is absolutely terrible. It was taken over by DIC, the Canadian company, and it's near unwatchable. And I actually don't want to do this format for them. So I don't. It's not fun for me. So I'll probably cover it. Like, I'll probably do some form of it. But we're almost there. But I'll make some announcements when I think what's most likely is going to end up being is a comic book retrospective, because that's where my that's where my passion for almost everything starts in comic books. So
I had a question for you before we get started on the next thing we're going to do here.
Yeah.
I recently read, and I was wondering if you could clear this up for me. Originally, the G.I. Joe story was going to be Shield versus Hydra, not Joe versus Cobra.
Yeah.
You have any insight on that?
Yeah, so Larry Hama had a pitch going from the late 70s that he had been working on, and it was supposed to be Shield Hydra. It was a revival of Shield, and he had all these character sketches drawn out and character story ideas and beats and stuff. And he was working that pitch with Marvel. And then separately, Hasbro came to Marvel and said, hey, we've got this military toy line. Well, they would have known what G.I. Joe is, but we're relaunching G.I. Joe as something you've never seen before. G.I. Joe formerly being the 12-inchers. We're relaunching them as these 3 3/4 inches, and we're doing it like versus this group called Cobra. We don't know anything about what this is going to look like, but we need characters. We need villains. We need a backstory. And so Marvel married that with what Larry Hama was pitching for Shield, and it became G.I. Joe.
Yeah, see, and I had never heard that. I mean, obviously, I was a little kid when the relaunched 3 3/4 G.I. Joe line came out.
Yeah, that was a recent. There was an article. I want to say it might have been in Back Issue magazine, but it was an article recently that covered that kind of revealed that. It wasn't something I knew for a long time. I knew Larry Hama was always involved intimately, but I never knew that it was like, you look at his sketches from what he wanted to do for the Shield team, and they really are. They very much look like the. In the comic book, he told the backstory of Snake Eyes and Stalker in Vietnam, and it was like the Long Range Recon Patrol, and he took those sketches that he had for what was going to be the Shield team, and he used that for the Long Range Recon Patrol. So this picture that he has, it looks like a prototype version of what would have been Snake Eyes and Storm Shadows and Stalker's Vietnam squad. It doesn't look like what the G.I. Joes end up looking like,
right?
But you see that he took that idea and he held onto it, and he used it as a major portion of the mythos that he built G.I. Joe on.
Oh yeah, and that would also kind of like the toy line kind of folds in that first year release toy line.
Mm-hmm.
The characters were less colorful.
Oh, very military. Yeah,
very military. And there's actually in today's episode, there's a little something that kind of makes me laugh that kind of goes into that line too. So when I found that out, I was pretty amazed by that. I mean, I totally believe it. I just had never heard it before.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Like Larry is like the godfather of the show, and not just because he wrote the comic book. Like he wrote the file cards. So and he made characterizations for these guys. And then you look at actually today's episode we're watching is The $1 Million Medic, and it features Lifeline, who was a personal favorite of mine. I loved his toy. This episode was written by Jerry and Carla Conway. And Jerry Conway is a major comic book writer. Jerry Conway wrote The Death of Gwen Stacy. Like he's done a ton of stuff in comic books. So there was this great Marvel connection, let alone actually the cartoon being produced by Marvel Productions. So yeah, it's got a whole lot of ties to it. What's your experience with G.I. Joe?
Well, so I was, when I was a little kid, obviously the toy line relaunched, and I had, a handful of the toys, and I was a big big supporter of the Cobra toys because I like that you could get them with the different colored chest insignia. You had the red one and the silver one. I had the first Cobra Commander as a mail-in toy, which is a big thing when you and I were kids.
Oh, sure.
Kenner did it. Hasbro did it. You could get Star Wars and all this other stuff just with UPC symbols and a $5 check.
Yeah.
And I got probably about the time I was getting ready to quit playing with toys, I got the big base, not the boat, but the stationary base.
Yeah.
And I believe it was Duke who came with a parasail in a mail away kit.
I think you're right.
Yeah. So those were the last ones I really remember getting. But I had a brother who was 7 years younger than me. So as I'm getting out, I'm giving him my G.I. Joe, Star Wars, and He-Man toys. And then so we jumped from first generation and second generation to fourth and fifth with these things. And so then he shows up with the Cobra Commander with a hood on his head, and the more colorful characters start filling in the ranks at that point.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Did you do you still have any of your toys?
No.
Yeah. Were you like a destructive player? Like were you would you tear limbs apart and things like that?
Well, yeah, especially once I realized that you could unrubber band them and then put the bodies together differently if you could just figure out how to wind them up.
You would bash them.
Yeah, I wasn't quite like Michael Richards was on that old TV show Fridays where he was stuffing firecrackers into them, but I was right on the edge.
I hope your parents kept a close eye on you.
Well, they had to. They had to make sure I didn't have any lighters or knives at any given point and throughout the day or night.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited and honored to have you. I appreciate you taking time out to be on my show. We should figure out some kind of crossover show between Geekish and Joe on Joe.
Well, we could probably do one where we do the history of G.I. Joe.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Because that'd be a fun one to talk about. I do want to say before we get started today, it's probably been 30 some odd years since I've actually watched a G.I. Joe cartoon.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to see how nostalgia stacks up against expectations and reality as we do this.
Well, that's listen, half my guests have never actually seen an episode, so you're one step ahead of them.
That's even funnier.
Yeah. And as we go, if you have any questions, if you don't recognize somebody, if you don't remember somebody, you let me know. I should be able to answer it for you. And if I don't answer it for you, I'll fix it in post.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a dub over at all.
Hey, no, Jeremy, that guy is Lifeline. Awesome. Well, I'm really excited. Let's get into this. We're going to watch the $1 Million Medic. It's a whole lot of fun, written by Carla and Jerry Conway. Jeremy, you ready to rock and roll?
Yeah. Now, is this actually starring Ted DiBiase as the $1 Million Medic?
Oh, they had such a wrestling tie. It should. It totally should, but it does not. It does not. However, the young lady in it could be Miss Elizabeth.
Well, I just the other day saw a bit from the old AWA wrestling in the 80s where Sergeant Slaughter was in it.
Yeah.
They should have kept that man as far from a microphone as you could do it, because he got up there and he said, "Yo, Joe, I am G.I. Joe, yo, Joe, let's go, Joe." But that's all he did. And I'm like, is he having a stroke? What's going on here?
He might have been. He might have been.
Could have.
Oh, yeah, he could have. Sweet. Yeah. All right, everyone listening at home, get ready to hit play, and here we go.
Yo, Joe!
So, did you have any of these toys, Jeremy, growing up?
Let's see what I had here.
Sergeant Slaughter's tank, the Thunder Machine.
I don't remember the vehicles so well. I had like a large gun. I had a Cobra helicopter.
The Fang,
I had
that one-man helicopter?
Yeah, I had that. I had the G.I. Joe that was like an actual American helicopter, the green one that came with the dude with the cowboy hat.
Oh, yeah, Dragonfly. Yeah, the Dragonfly with Wild Bill. That was great.
I'm trying to think of some of the other. My brother had a Hiss tank, but I don't think I ever had that.
The one thing I mentioned this before in the show, I've always regretted that I never did, what do they call it, like Army Build. Like Army Builder figures, which was what you were kind of supposed to do. You're supposed to have like 15 Cobra soldiers and 20 Vipers and 10 Hiss tanks and things like that. I think I treated them like comic books. Like I would have like one of each. I'm like, oh, that's all I need. I just have one of this. Yeah. So here we go with the show. It's $1 Million Medic, and we've got a fleet of Conquest X-30s. flying over the ocean with there is a Tomahawk, the G.I. Joe helicopter, in tow as well. I'll say this: I think the animation on this opening scene is wonderful. Like it's really well done. They've got a lot of the lighting effects are really strong. Whoa!
Hey now!
I think. Did you notice that they had the properly positioned
Yeah, was she
Walkman
topless in that scene? Is that what
no,
just
she
happened?
wasn't topless, but the Walkman covered up her chest. So you see the lovely, her name is Bree, and she's on a boat, like a yacht with her rich father. And it's the
Oh,
first,
wait. Hold on. Her name's Bree or Ivanka?
It's Bree.
Oh.
Yeah, who's Ivanka?
Well,
Oh,
I was just
right.
kinda
No.
thinking
That's
Well, I only know one millionaire who hangs out with his topless daughter on a yacht.
yeah, that's the cutscene where the dad's making out with the daughter. Now
Gotcha,
this
okay.
one they weren't in that kind of a clinch. G.I. Joe's
I wanna
finally
say
on the
this.
branding game, by the way, real quick. They just threw some Lifeline threw some life vests out the door of the Tomahawk, and they were finally branded G.I. Joe. Cobra's always tops G.I. Joe in the branding game.
Yeah.
They're on board now. What were you gonna say?
Well, I was going to say, first off, yeah, you're absolutely right. First off, villains have always been better at branding than the good guys.
True.
In reality and in fictional properties like this,
Mhm.
because even look back at the Nazi Germany, man. They were all over it.
Those designers, man.
Yeah.
This is a really cool moment. We've got the twins, which we haven't seen the twins use the whole "you punch my twin and I get hurt" thing in a bit. But one of the twins got jumped out of his night Raven, and they used the autopilot on the secondary Night Raven ship to save the other one in midair, which is pretty cool. Meanwhile, that Night Raven just straight up crashes into the Trump's boat.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I didn't say that. That's not right. Well, maybe it did. And Lifeline jumps out of the Tomahawk to save them.
Forget the yacht, Daddy.
The dad is just ridiculous. And ascot. Speaking of which, I saw someone walking around. They were tourists yesterday in L.A. And it was a hot, sunny day in L.A. And they were walking around, and he was rocking the old school, like, stereotype rich guy look with the sweater
Yacht
over the
captain.
shoulders. Yeah. Like with sweater over the shoulders and like on white look. And I was just like, I don't know what world this guy came from, but like it was a throwback.
Yeah. I was at a Nick Cave concert last night, and I saw a lot of weird costumes.
Yeah, and you seem to be caught smack in the middle.
I did see one guy in an ascot, but everything else he was wearing kind of made you forget the ascot.
Oh, he was wearing the ascot, nothing else.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Gee, willikers.
She is really, so Bree is really scantily clad. She is,
Yeah.
that is a revealing look.
I think many boys were rushing into puberty watching this
Yeah.
episode.
I think so. Brittany. Everyone calls me Bree. And she's in love with Lifeline.
I love at first sight.
Yeah. I think Lifeline's got such a great look because using the Red Cross motifs and the red and
We
white,
can talk
you
some other
instantly
time.
know what that character does. Like as a toy,
wow.
like if you were looking at your toys, you'd be like, oh, that guy's the doctor. Like
Yep.
immediately. I also love that he was a pacifist, so they always had to find a reason for him not to shoot somebody in the face.
I don't know that military career is the best career for a pacifist.
No, it's not. But isn't that the movie that isn't that what Hacksaw Ridge was all about?
Oh, yeah. Might have
Wasn't
been.
that? Yeah. Like that wasn't that. Yeah. And I haven't seen it, but yeah, I feel like Hacksaw Ridge could have just been the Lifeline story. Like if it was made on ABC, it would have just been like the story of Lifeline.
ABC Family
ABC
presents
Family.
the Lifeline story.
Yeah. Bunch of terrible G.I. Joe costumes.
Can I just say real quick? I think Supantor was a really weak character.
Okay. Yeah, I mean you're not alone in that. I liked him because
She's looking for moose and squirrel.
Oh yeah.
Where is moose and squirrel?
I liked Serpentor. I thought he brought some like an overlord energy to the show. You know, he finally someone put Cobra Commander in his place because Cobra Commander screwed up everything in the first season. Every
that's
plot
good.
failed because of Cobra Commander, and finally, Serpentor made inroads, and some of these plans actually came to fruition. You know.
Yeah, just I don't trust anybody who
lift
rides their
tickets.
hover device.
Wait, real quick. They have lift ticket in that shot. and he's not wearing his helmet, right? Which he normally is drawn with his helmet.
Send me something
And
like
his
this.
body is much too large for his head. It's, you know what I mean? It's like they took the model and just removed the helmet, but didn't compensate for anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a weird
Yeah,
shot.
absolutely. Look at
Yeah. Also, Lifeline just got a box from Tiffany's, a blue box, and they drew it like a Tiffany's box. That's great.
Yeah, but a platinum Swiss Army knife.
Army knife, sure.
That'd be pointless. You need steel.
No, but it's what do you call ceremonial? It's an object of her love.
Well, then she should have sent him a ring.
Well, but
Okay, so those trench coats are not conspicuous at all.
especially when you're using a buzzsaw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have you arrested.
So the Dreadnok, well, it's actually a couple Dreadnoks and the Tomax and Zaymot twins.
twins.
Yeah, they're breaking into Trump's house here.
But do you know who
I don't-
we are? We're the new
I don't understand why when you get that rich, do you want to wear like captain's coats? And
It's a perk.
Yeah, it's a perk. Well, we're going in a commercial with the guy getting threatened. Today's Filecard Feature is on the Cobra Dreadnok, codenamed Road Pig. His file name is Donald DeLuca, and he is from Goblu, Michigan. His arrest record includes speeding, reckless endangerment, littering, assault, grand theft auto, usury, felony spitting, petty bribery, passing stopped school buses at high speeds. When Road Pig was born, the doctor held him up and said, quote, "This is the ugliest looking baby I've ever seen." He was expelled from the kindergarten for milk money extortion and dishonorably discharged from the Cub Scouts. After being kicked out of a low-life outlaw gang for smelling worse than what was commonly acceptable by even their standards, he joined the Dreadnoks as a probationary member. They're having a hard time making up their minds about this one. Quote, "Ugly." They banned him from football games because he stopped the clock. His mother had to use a pork chop around his neck so the dog would play with him. He went to visit the Empire State Building and got strafed. I tell you, beauty may be skin deep, but ugly goes clean to the bone. We've talked a bit about some of these Dreadnoks looking like refugees from a Mad Max movie. No one personifies that more than Road Pig. He is wearing a football shoulder pad outfit. He's carrying a stick with a cinder block on the end of it. Shaved head, scars on his face, white hair with shocks of red throughout. He's really an awesome looking character. Larry Hama introduced him in the comic book, gave him multiple personalities. He had a huge crush on Zorana. I think one of the personalities did, and the other one was just a lunatic psycho. He had a couple different action figures over the years. He was in the G.I. Joe Nintendo game. Road Pig's really cool. Road Pig's like, if he had been one of the early releases, he would have been legendary. As it is now, you've seen his look. Never got the love that he probably deserves for being pretty awesome. And so, Road Pig, Donald DeLuca, we salute you from a distance.
Now back to G.I. Joe.
Which is, it's funny that commercial break actually ended on a threatening cliffhanger, which is rare for the show, actually. Usually the cliffhangers involve a more physical threat, like you're falling off a bridge or getting punched in the face. This is an emotional threat like that is actually really rare for the show, so that's kind of cool.
I question this man's taste in boots. He shops at the same place that Steve Austin, the $6 million man, did, I think.
Well, the animation is tight though, because they're getting all his buckles, they're getting everything down. Yeah. Oh wow, that's Xandar. Xandar laying one on Lifeline.
We've got Van Mark.
There you
and
go.
his
The old
daughter.
Voss the head
Now let's
routine.
get out
Also-
I hear that's a big one in Australia.
Oh, it's huge. Also, he's got the word rescue, Lifeline does, written on his leg, and that's hard to animate because it's a letter. You know what I mean? Like it always has to look good. And
you
they do
can't
it
flip it or anything.
right.
Yeah.
They do a great job with that. Buzzer's buzzsaw is tearing up the floor. The whole house is now going to collapse.
Oh, there we go.
And they go right
That's
into the
a
basement.
load-bearing pillar.
That is a load-bearing pillar.
They're gone. Had enough fun, I guess.
They're gone. They're just in the basement. Lift ticket. They're not gone.
Well, you never know. Rich people often keep portals to an external dimension.
Yeah,
in
that's
their
so
basement.
funny.
Yeah.
They're literally not gone. They just went to the basement. They're still there, guys. That's so funny.
Wait, there's a shield and a spear on the wall behind him.
Oh, he's like Bruce Wayne in the '89 Burton Batman. He had those the wall of weapons, you know.
But maybe that shield would have come in handy against the saw, you know.
It would have, yeah. But then they would have had to animate that instead of just being a background plate.
Man, this girl's handsy.
She
is really handsy.
So forward. I don't want to, slut shame her. Okay, I don't want to shame her. I'm not saying that, but she's just as love at first sight. She knows what she likes, and she likes a man who could, heal her boo boos.
Yes. Usually before a girl gets that handsy, there's a couple roofie coladas involved, you know?
Okay, Mr.
They discovered the romance between Brittany Van Mark and one of the Joes. We can use this to
So I love that the Baroness is getting involved. I also like that the show features heavily Duke and Scarlet because they're like first season standouts, obviously, and I love seeing them get in action with the new characters.
Hey, let me ask, you're a Star Trek fan, right?
I am.
Yeah. Who would win in a fist fight between Khan Noonien Singh and Serpentor?
That's a really good question because they're both very
similar
characters.
In a way,
they really are. It's a good question. Do they? And is it just straight fist fight? Okay, wait, real quick. Mm-hmm. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Lifeline's outfit is amazing. Lifeline just walks into the mess hall and he is dressed as foppish as you can get. He looks like
he's
lifestyles of the rich and famous.
He's like a gay 1930s silent film director who's looking for work in the new medium of talkie films.
And he just keeps telling his mom, I have not met the right lady.
Yeah, that's all it is.
I'm just waiting to meet the right lady, Mom. That's all he's doing.
Me and my pink ascot are out there cruising for chicks all the time.
That is quite the look. So Bree sent him this outfit.
But I love that they call it a uniform.
Yeah.
This is my new uniform.
What's hilarious is he didn't have to put it on. He doesn't have to wear it. And she's got him a pink ambulance. Oh, out of which come a bunch of bats, battle android troopers.
Yes. Nobody bothered to check this before allowing it onto the most
Trojan
important
horse.
military base.
Trojan horse. And why does Bree think pink ambulances are going to be a good idea? Oh, that's Scarlet, man. She's mowing them down. That's awesome.
Nope.
Scarlet's so great. This is what I don't get about the rich people. What planet do you think pink ambulances make sense?
The same one where you think an expensive Swiss Army knife.
That's a cool shot from ground up on Duke and Scarlet. Cool. That was amazing.
I'm surprised they got away from that bomb.
Yeah. Oh, some days you just can't get away from a bomb.
Yeah. To
paraphrase a lost legend. This is actually the animation on this fight is fantastic. Like there's a lot of explosions. The vehicles always like that Conquest X30 looks, that drawing of that chip looks sharp. That's Robotech level sharp. And I
No, you're right.
I
never really think of this show as having great animation, but you are pointing out lots of things to me I would never even have thought of.
Look at this.
Okay, hold on. Platinum Swiss Army knife and a gold helicopter.
It's a gold-plated helicopter.
They even gold-plated the interior.
Everything inside is gold-plated. Everything. Oh my God, it's like Mike Myers. It's like a gold finger. Gold what golden night? No, what was it? Gold member. It's like gold member.
Gold member.
Wow. And this is great because you think, if you know anything, you go, oh, gold's really heavy. And sure enough, it's too heavy to fly.
Oh, they actually deal with that.
They do, yeah. I was waiting for them to ignore that. No, they deal with it right now. It's just too heavy to fly. And this pileup is both ridiculous.
Scarlet almost dropped an F-bomb right there.
Yeah, she did. Well, look at this pileup.
Oh, right up her tailpipe.
That's crazy. It's crazy. I love that they all jump together. They're all four people land at the same spot.
They spent a lot of time practicing that move at G.I. Joe infantry school.
Yeah. But like this, it's just like the fight scenes, the explosions, all this, the aircraft battle and ship battle looks great. And the thing is, it's harder. I think it's harder to do because you're essentially doing. Real quick. Okay, we're going into commercial with a gravity break. The gold-plated helicopter hitting the ground.
Stalker! Duke to stalker! Duke's in trouble! And I smell a rat slicing through the swamp. It's a pack of cobra rats with spinning saw blades and deadly rotor missiles. But Duke's got the G.I. Joe Barracuda with dive action tablets for real submarine action and torpedoes that fire. G.I. Joe Barracuda and Cobra Rats sold separately.
Mind if I cut in?
Talk about your close shave!
Now, back to G.I. Joe.
Well, it's less of like I'm about to slap you down and pee on you,
Yeah.
and more like you're about to crash
Right,
and die.
right. It's hard to animate vehicles moving because they're these fixed, they're fixed geometrical creations that what they look like from each angle, and as the camera moves around them or they move around the camera, they need to always look in perfect perspective. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Versus a character, a human who's rounded and can, malleable, whatever. So there are some episodes where they really go light on the details on the planes, for example, on the Sky Strikers or on the X-30s, and you see more of the shape, like the white shape of the ship, instead of the actual details on the wings and stuff. Not so here. This is fantastic animation on these. This is great. And that missile, by the way, that missile barrage was amazing.
I just want to point out here for a moment that G.I. Joe and Cobra from military and paramilitary organizations seem to be on the forefront of non-lethal combat technologies.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, they should file patents.
Yeah, there should be dead bodies strewn everywhere in this, but no, they're weapons just damage property without hurting the people.
Totally. Hey,
Yeah.
so Jeremy, so the last few episodes, this is season 2, one of the things I've been doing with my guests is, and I'm sorry, I realized I forgot to prep you on this. One of the things I've been doing is I've been asking them, if you were to be a member of G.I. Joe or Cobra, what would your code name be, and what would your specialty be? So you can think about it. We can get to it after the show ends, but I want to ask you that. So.
Okay, I will begin to ponder that in my ponder machine.
Code name and specialty. And we've had people all the way from
makes you wonder if Owen Van Mark and Bree are victims
social media
or
specialists
collaborators.
for Cobra, all the way to my wife. Her name was the Toilet Eel, and she was the Cobra cleaning lady. So it can be anything.
Okay. I'll have to think about this some. Of course, as a plumbing salesman, I kind of feel as if my thunder has been stolen.
Oh, well, maybe. Well, she was the Cobra counterpart. So maybe you're like the G.I. Joe counterpart to that.
What are you doing?
Okay.
Wait. Bree is straight up stealing a tomahawk.
So you could say that she is perhaps colluding with Cobra.
Well, I don't see any evidence of collusion. In fact, to my recollection, she's never met Cobra. I don't remember ever being in the room with Cobra. You say I was at a party with Cobra, but I don't recall.
I'm going to have to not answer because later on somebody may not want me to answer that question.
Right, exactly. But that somebody is too busy golfing and generally being an A in order to preliminarily cover what I can and cannot say. So for now, I want to say I don't remember.
That is Attorney General Foghorn Leghorn.
Yeah, I've got the memory of Swiss cheese. Yeah. So they head over to Donald Trump's house here.
Yes.
And which, by the way, his model is very similar to Duke, like facially.
Now she's disappeared.
Yeah, it is in a way, huh?
If she's taking him to some Cobra base, I'm not working for Cobra.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what we learn is that he's not working with Cobra, but he's kind of under the thumb of Cobra.
So perhaps they have some compromising material on him.
So they have a P tape on this guy is what they have.
No
they
way.
totally do.
Tell us the truth, Van Mark.
Of him and his daughter.
Oh, jeez.
Why?
You don't know how much I would give for that to be true.
Yeah.
Oh, my good God. But yeah, so he reveals
If
what's
Cobra
going on
takes
here is
over, they'll
that
have access to weapons more powerful
Cobra's
than
trying
you
to
can
take over
imagine.
his business, which would give them extreme technological advantage in the military game.
Like sell out to Cobra?
Addie's lift ticket.
Oh, lift ticket. Don't be throwing
in non-lethal technology.
All right, non-lethal technology. Absolutely,
Any
of course.
idea where she could be?
And that helmet's
Our
huge.
family
It really
ski
is.
lodge in the
When they take it
Rockies
off, he's got a
On
tiny,
his tiny,
he's got
tiny
a teeny
head.
tiny head.
because it's so peaceful.
Roasted marshmallows
So,
and instant coffee.
wait a minute. So
First
let's look
meal
at
I've
this.
ever cooked for you.
So Bree flew up to their little ski chalet, right? and Lifeline and Bree are snuggling by the fire, and he says, "Oh, you didn't give me much of a choice. You're a man. You could just take your helicopter back from her. She's not holding you at gunpoint.
Your way out of trouble.
You know,
Well,
like
he's kind of into it, I think.
well, he's into her, which I get.
Yeah.
I get that. I don't want to,
Yeah, she only
But-
caused like $20 billion in property
right.
destruction.
But he's
so far.
currently AWOL with a stolen tomahawk, and he's just sitting there chilling, having hot cocoa by the fire.
Joe, you know what they say? A stiff GI Joe has no
Use
conscience.
my brains. Start her up, Bree.
This is neat. This whole bit here reminds me very much of like a Bond movie. Not just because they're in the snow, but like he's using the environment to stop them, Like, so what they do, they spread gasoline all over the snow, and they start a big wall of fire.
Yeah.
And here come the X-30s. Again, looking good. Good angles. Oh, there's Frostbite. There's a giant wildfire that's drawing them in like a big flare.
Well, fortunately,
No, wait a minute.
wall
Look
of
at this.
fire.
Look at this. The Cobras are driving a G.I. Joe Snowcat. That's
Well, I'm starting to think these guys shop at the same place, honestly.
they must. That's a straight G.I. Joe Snowcat, which is weird and funny. Like, I think they did a Cobra version of it, because you know how they with the Joe toys they would just repaint them or remold them basically, but use the same molds and just do, hey, here's a Cobra version. So I think they did do that with the Snowcat, but not at this point. This is just them needing to give Cobra a snow vehicle, but without actually having a snow vehicle to put him in.
Yeah, he sent his gun to Avalanche.
Yeah, yes, he did. Oh my gosh, I really wish instead of shooting, it would have just been a recording of Alpine doing the yodel from from the other episode. Yodel.
Wait, hold on, they already had a building set up with the Cobra logo.
Wow, like I said, they brand, man.
Oh, of course.
They brand. All they do is brand.
There goes Cobra's top brass.
Oh
Does
yeah.
that mean you won?
Has anybody ever thought of just like writing Cobra a check to not be a bunch of douches?
Well, it's funny you say that. Next episode is called Cobrathon, and they do a telethon, which is the second telethon that they've actually done. So yes, they are often looking to just go fund Cobra.
I think.
Hashtag go fund Cobra.
Yeah, maybe
So-
just like write them a check and send them to Antarctica and tell them, hey guys, it's all yours.
So we get a little smooch at the end, and everyone's happy, even though there was all kinds of real military hijinks that would put him in the brig for a long time. Yeah, for real. Well, Jeremy,
Yes.
there you go. That's Joe on Joe. What'd you think of the episode?
That was fun stuff right there.
Yeah, it's. I think the cartoon holds up. I mean, this plot's a little far fetched and silly. It's not one of my top 10, but I think the action absolutely was exciting. I think that keeps your interest, and the animation was sharp, and the characterization was strong because it's all about love and luck, romance. Yuck, gonna vomit.
Well, it's not that. She's a little. What's the term I'm even gonna try to use for this one?
Fast.
No, it's not that. She is obsessed.
Yeah.
More than fast.
Yeah.
She's
a little.
That's it.
Single green female.
Yeah, that's a little creepy the way she's coming on to him. Now that being said, most of us would go for it anyway.
Well,
she's rich, she's hot.
Yeah,
because
right.
of her clothes.
Right. Yeah. In front of her dad.
Yeah.
Really, that's what we're all
besides
looking for, right?
Exactly.
What?
Isn't that what everybody
That's
wants?
weird. Ignore that. So, did you think about what who you would be and what you would do?
Well, I would think my name would be G.I. John, just to reference an old joke of ours.
Nice.
Yes. And I would have an airplane that drops commodes on people from the sky.
Oh, and would those commodes be full?
Yes.
How about this? Can I modify this?
Sure.
Because every battlefield, like they say an army marches on its stomach, right? So, and they also then need porta potties.
Yes.
So you're G.I. John, and you're responsible for equipping the latrines
Yes.
in the field. But
fully formed latrines that would come with like faucets and hand sanitizer.
Right. Yeah. Oh, they're the best latrines you've ever seen. And when they get full, you load them up onto a tomahawk, and like you just said, you bomb cobra with them. So you're using all parts of the buffalo. You're 100% recycling. You're doing your job to keep the soldiers, keep the plumbing well, but then you say, hey, let's weaponize this and let's really take it out of cobra. I like that. G.I. John.
Yeah, that works for me. I got 2 of my dogs freaking out here right now.
Yeah, it's okay. They're very excited about G.I. Joe too.
They're fans. They're fans.
Junkyard had a cameo in that episode. They know.
Okay, so that was one thing that bothered me. My greyhound weighs 98 pounds.
Yep.
And if he decides to jump on you, you don't giggle as he holds you down and licks you. You scream in terror because a 105-pound animal has just pinned you to the floor. That dog, for a Rottweiler, is a big, heavy creature made out of muscle, and they don't lightly tap dance on your chest, man. They land and crash into you.
Well, Junkyard's a sweetheart, and they know that. So anyway, well, listen, G.I. John, I love it. Jeremy Vilmur, you're on geekishcast.com. So it's every Tuesday, and then the first 3 Thursdays, right?
The first 3 Thursdays we do the live episode, yes.
Fantastic. So check him out everywhere you get your podcasts. Go to geekishcast.com, go to Facebook, Geekish Cast, The Geekish Cast on Twitter, and you know where to find me. And for both of our podcasts, if you're out there listening, do me a favor. If you hear this, stop what you're doing, because I'm about to ruin. No, stop what you're doing and go to iTunes and leave a review for both of us. Leave a review. You can leave the review. You can say, you know what, this is like the Geekish Cast is great, but Joe and Joe is terrible. I don't care, just as long as it gets some action, because that's what they look for when they do like promotion and stuff. So go on iTunes, leave a review, or wherever you're listening, leave a review, and you'll help grow both of our shows. Jeremy, thank you so much for being on the show.
Joe, thank you. It was my pleasure.
It was awesome. This was really great. Look forward to seeing you soon. And everyone, now you Joe, and Joeing is half the battle.